What's up, guys? Your King of the Night, Vincent Valentine EX Turk, and well, I have Final Fantasy music because the Final Fantasy theme that we're going to be talking about another Final Fantasy related theme. And the other theme I'm trying to talk about is why I personally think that the best Final Fantasy story arc, not only in Final Fantasy VII, but in Final Fantasy in general, is the Black Materia arc. Now, if you don't know, the Black Materia arc is still part of the mini arcs that's in the Genova War, which is Final Fantasy VII. So pretty much with the Black Materia arc, a lot. Now, this is the last video I'm going to be making until I go to bed, so I really got to make a good video on this. Now, to start off with the Black Materia arc, the reason why I think it's one of the best things, it's the longest arc in the Genova War saga. And this one, this is where the heroes of Avalanche will be known, because this arc has every backstory. Now, depending on when you go to Wutai in Final Fantasy VII, because it's a mini story arc, you know, which most likely it happens during this arc, so we're going to count it as part of this arc. You get Yuffie's backstory with that one side quest, and you get Vincent Valentine's, backstory with Lucretia and how Sephiroth was born. And the tragedy that made Vincent, believe he has sinned. But nonetheless, so you get some more backstories, and then backstories on the traditional characters, such as Cloud's true identity as Zack. So Zack was introduced in the Black Materia arc. Now, to begin the Black Materia arc, this will be right after you get Sid Highwing from, I'm trying to think of that one town, Rocket Town. It's after you get Vincent and Nibelheim and talk to Sephiroth. You go through the mountains, fight a boss, fight that big scorpion boss, and go straight to Rocket Town. And then when you go to after you go to Rocket Town, you pick Sid up after that arc is over. The Black Materia would start during the events of the Temple of the Ancients. Temple of the Ancients. Going back to Aeris's people's stories on how, if you look at the hieroglyphics on there, it's how the weapons and the ancients try to stop Genova, and Genova wasn't successful. She got beat, which led to the modern day stuff. Cloud gets taken over with the Genova cells he already has. Cloud gets taken over by Sephiroth, and then hands Sephiroth the Black Materia, or at least the spirit Sephiroth. I think that's what happens. No, he doesn't hand it. No, never mind. He doesn't hand it. Never mind. I thought he did. No, he pulls out his blade and tries to attack Aeris because he got controlled. But any of your party members will snap you up. This also had the iconic. This also had the iconic, sad, iconic death we all knew. The whole tragedy. Like the whole tragedy. This had the whole sad moment when Aeris got killed. So this is a big arc based on the fact that this has one of the most iconic scenes in video game history, as well as other iconic scenes such as Sephiroth's resurrection, his legit resurrection as in his body, because his real body was in a live stream thanks to Crisis Core. This also had Cloud's realization that he was not the soldier, that was the first class soldier in Nibelheim. He was actually an infantryman, and the real soldier was Zack Fair. This is where he gets the realization, as well as side stories for each character. And even when you go to after you stop Ultimate Weapon from destroying destroying Midel. After you do that, you go on to also Barrett's backstory as well, because Barrett takes over as leader for a short period of time, and this is where he goes around to stop the train from hitting Corral. And if you did it right, you get to unlock Barrett's last limit break and be able to use it. If you did not, you never got to use Barrett's last limit break. But this also put more story and this story arc made Barrett the hero he deserves to be. You know. Then they recognize him being the same hero who stopped Din, or Dyne. I'm gonna call him Dyne. But it's also had a lot more going on, such as the Northern Crater, such as when Sephiroth summoned Meteor, the weapons come out of the planet. Meteor has at least a few days before hitting. And this was such a big arc that it ended after. This is such a big arc that it ended with Cloud and him versing Hojo, because this arc also put the end of Shinra. Like, Shinra lasted too long. Shinra should have been beat in the first disc. Avalanche versus Shinra should have already been, this should have been established. That battle should have been done and over with, That's what I'm talking about now. It should have been, that arc should have been over with, which gets over during the Black Materia arc. Because this is why it's my favorite chapter of the Final Fantasy series. Not just Final Fantasy VII, but it's my favorite of the Final Fantasy series. Overall, is because everybody gets their backstories. Everyone becomes heroes. Shinra gets beat. Tifa and Scarlet have the big slap fight that I hope to God they did not take out in the remake. I know it's kind of sexist, but the cat fight was kind of funny. It was kind of funny, and let's be quite honest, I was hoping that Tifa would beat the mess out of Scarlet. Now, if Social Justice Warriors want to go change the game, at least make Tifa punch the crap out of Scarlet, because, well, I don't really like Scarlet as a character. I think Scarlet's a trash character as much as Cypher is, and it's mostly based off personality. And the fact that she's so weak, she needs mech robots to defeat Cloud and them. But this was the end of Shinra. Rufus supposedly died, if you don't believe in the compilation as canon anymore. And they defeat Hojo, but so many things happen. So many things, and you can go back and trigger more Zack Fair cutscenes if you go to Shinra Manor and touch the tubes in the basement. Touch those test tubes in the basement, and you get to unlock even a bigger, broader cutscene. So this had so much story content. It had as much story content as the entire Final Fantasy 15 game. Episode DLC, character DLCs included. So you can imagine why in the remake for Final Fantasy VII, they have to take a little bit longer. Because the Black Materia arc was a big arc. This changed characters. Sephiroth has become a dominant, strong villain. In fact, this is the arc that made Sephiroth iconic. Now, I gotta be honest, Kingdom Hearts actually put Sephiroth even way beyond, but this is what got Sephiroth in the Kingdom Hearts games. This is what got Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts 1. This is what got Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts 1. This is what got him the best video game villain of all time. Because you had to defeat Sephiroth's barrier, and he was a true villain. Like, you had to fight him as a true villain. So it was a big arc. It was more of a big arc than you could ever imagine. It's a huge arc in its own, man. So everything changed. Even Cloud fell in the live stream, got his memories back, everything, yada yada. It sounds standard. Plus at the end, after Avalanche defeats Hojo, and if you have Vincent in your party, Vincent has a little bit of dialogue toward Hojo when he dies, because his relevance to the story is because of Hojo and Lucretia, and Sephiroth, if you really think about it. You know, Vincent starts to let go of his feelings and his hatred toward Hojo, and says, "Rest in peace." You know, the man that did Vincent so much wrong. You get a little bit of dialogue, which I hope they put in the remake, with voice acting and everything, you know. After you defeat Hojo, you get that also kind of romance with Tifa and Cloud, which makes, even though this is an action-packed Final Fantasy game, still, I think this had one of the best love stories, a little bit. And I ain't talking about Cloud X Aerith. You know, X Aerith. I think Tetsuya Nomura planned for Cloud to be with Tifa. That's why it ended up happening. And I think when you go land on that one island before you put Disc 3, you see Tifa leaning on Cloud. Now, I hope in the remake you see Cloud and Tifa kiss. You know? Now, I'm not expecting those sex scenes because, well, it's a Final Fantasy game, but at least a kiss. A kiss scene for the fangirls, and also a kiss scene for building character development, because you can always put combat in anything, but I think character development is good. Plus, you got to saw the true parallels of Cloud, Strife, and Sephiroth. You saw both characters struggle with the same ideology, but different ways of going about it. You actually got to see that Cloud and Sephiroth were not only the main characters of the game, and the game was actually about, but you also got to see, you know, that Cloud and Sephiroth had the same way of thinking. They both want to save the planet in their own ways. You know, Sephiroth wants to destroy the planet and rebuild it in his image, just like he said his mother did 2,000 years ago. As Cloud wants to destroy Shinra and Sephiroth to save the planet. You know, pretty much it's a game of the same ideology but turned out the wrong way. Sephiroth and Cloud are so much alike. There's a reason why Sephiroth calls Cloud a puppet in this arc. When he told Cloud he's not who he thinks he is, that he was pretending to be Zack Fair, because Sephiroth was there. The real Sephiroth was there during the actual Nibelheim incident, and during the time that they investigated a broken Mako reactor. But you got to see the parallel of the characters. One went the bad way, one went the good way. And you saw the clone. The secondary clone of Sephiroth defeating the original Sephiroth and saving the world. And then you saw that's actually at the end, so that's not really part of the Black Materia arc, but it leads into it. It leads so much into it. You know, plus all the side quests you know, you can go to Gold Saucer and get yourself, you know, go to Gold Saucer, get your Cloud's limit break. So there was also opportune time for quests, for side quests. There was opportune time for side quests in the Black Materia arc because how big it is. And this is why I think maybe it's not a bad thing they push it a little bit back. Not because of CyberConnect. You know, I think that's kind of foolish to break up with CyberConnect, but that's just my opinion. But I think it's possible. Oh, not only it's possible, but I think the Black Materia arc is the best because it was the longest one. And it wasn't the longest as it could put you to sleep. It kept you on your toes. If you just played Final Fantasy VII the first time, it'd keep you on your toes. Even if you go back and replay it. This arc made Final Fantasy VII replayable. Replayable. Just because this arc. Now, sure, this is not the arc where Cloud cross-dresses in a girl's dress and stuff like that to save Tifa from a sex trafficker, but you do battle that same sex trafficker, Don Corneo, when you go to save Yuffie. You know, this had everything: your action, your RPG, your JRPG, your anime, comic book storyline with romance and and philosophies and different beliefs, but with the same ideology. And this is the deepest arc of the darkest arc of the Final Fantasy VII remake, because it tells the end of the world. So that's what I gotta say. The Black